Good afternoon and welcome to State Newsfile. I'm Connor Gunn. Chimsy Ragul will have sports coming up, but first let's check in with Eloise Terrien with the weather.
Hey guys, so if you look at the sky above us, we are pretty overcast, but you can see some sunshine hitting the building and there's patches of blue sky, so not a bad day. And I'm wearing a pretty light jacket, so it's definitely a departure from the freezing temperatures we had last week. Now, we did get up to about 6 degrees today. Yesterday it got up to about 2, but the highest temperature this day has seen was in 1892 when Calgary hit plus 14. Now, the record low is a different story. That was back in 1943 when we got to a bone-chilling minus 39. Now, the population of Calgary was only about 88,000 people back then, so at least 1 million people weren't suffering. Connor?
Thanks, Eloise. So, Chim, did you ever play basketball growing up?
No, I'm a soccer person, but Pascal Siakam and Fred Van Vliet, they are basketball players for the Raptors, but we'll talk about that later on in the program.
And these are today's top stories. The World Health Organization calls the outbreak of the coronavirus as not yet a World Health emergency, but the organization is very concerned. What started as a mystery virus last month in Wuhan, China, has now killed at least 17 people and infected hundreds more around the world. China has locked down 3 cities, home to more than 18 million people. Here in Calgary, health officials are watching and waiting. Hannah Lepine has the latest.
It's not often a health issue gets the world's attention, but the outbreak of the coronavirus in China has a lot of health officials on edge. Some international airports have already set up additional screening for travelers arriving from China or anyone who may display signs of illness.
They're going to be checking. I know one of the cruise lines is going to be checking the temperature of everybody getting on a ship in China.
YYC hasn't taken that step yet, and Brewerton says for him, the virus is nothing we should be worried about quite yet.
I mean, there's things you can make sure of, but as far as any treatment and prevention, if you're going to China in general, not necessarily just to Wuhan, you want to just make sure that you're doing all the usual sanitary things.
After lessons learned from SARS outbreak 17 years ago, healthcare workers, especially in respiratory therapy, are gearing up to treat potential infections and prevent spread.
As we are on the front lines, and people that do experience these symptoms will come to us. I think if anything, it'll just make us more cognizant and even more hyper-aware of wearing the personal protective equipment at all times.
Padua also warns that coronavirus symptoms match up with those of the flu.
It'll primarily affect the respiratory system. Symptoms will include flu-like symptoms and then shortness of breath. If you do experience shortness of breath, that's when I suspect you should seek help.
China has 5 cities now on lockdown, and as the Lunar New Year celebration gets closer, there are even more concerns about the spread of the virus. After a recent outbreak of coronavirus in Washington, D.C., Calgary pharmacists have noticed face masks are flying off the shelves. They want to remind Calgarians to wash their hands regularly and to cover their coughs, and they'll have nothing to worry about. For State Newsfile, I'm Hannah Lepine.
The Canadian Club of Calgary hosted a discussion about the rising use of opioids in Alberta. Doctors are presenting new treatment plans and medication which will help those who are addicted to opioids. As Charlie Caldwell reports, new medicine for opioid treatment can help addicted Canadians in the future.
Needs to occur in our healthcare system in order to help people who are struggling with opioids.
Fentanyl-related deaths in the province have increased by almost 100 people every single year, according to Alberta Health Services. Calgary specifically is in dire need of a new treatment plan. Data shows Calgary had the most accidental fentanyl-related deaths in the province last year. Psychiatrist Dr. Robert Tangay, who specializes in addictions, says the high rate of deaths is due to the Alberta Health Services blanket solution for addiction.
The concept would really be about individualization. So not every single person with pain needs an opioid. Yet there are a group of individuals that definitely benefit and have an improved function and quality of life. But again, we have to balance that with many who are overprescribed.
Some agree medical professionals have overprescribed opioids, but many say places like the Safe Injection site promote drug use. Others say factors leading to an opioid addiction are accessibility and social circle rather than doctors just handing out too many drugs.
a lot of guys and individuals in the oil patch losing their jobs, and just the financial stress, just loss of identity, loss of structure. A lot of people were turning to substances to try and numb or escape the pain that they were feeling, and in doing so, it kind of created this epidemic that we're facing in regards to opioids.
With Calgary having one of the highest rates of addiction to opioids, it's important to recognize the symptoms of overdose. These symptoms include blue lips or nails, weak breathing, and inability to stay awake. For St. NewsFile, I'm Charlie Caldwell.
If someone manages to overcome an addiction, the Calgary Dream Centre is here to help to get whoever they are back on their feet. The wait times right now at the Dream Centre are at the highest they've ever been in their 17-year history. The Calgary Dream Centre is one of Calgary's most used addictions recovery facilities. Close to 22% of people in Canada qualify for a substance abuse order, which means 8 million Canadians suffer from some sort of addiction. Out of that 22%, 18% suffer from alcohol abuse, and more than 77,000 people were hospitalized because of it.
The number one we still see is alcohol. That's kind of the biggest substance that is used. Then methamphetamines is on the rise. It's fairly cheap and readily available. Then we're seeing the prescription medication, the opioids, and then cocaine would be number 4.
If you know anyone who struggles with addictions or who may benefit from programming, encourage them to go sign up, even though they may not have to wait. A man has been charged in relation to a death in one man on New Year's Day. On January 1st, a man was taken to the hospital after an apparent assault, one man, and died from his injuries. The morning after, at around 6:30 a.m., the Alpha House Society found the victim in distress and contacted the hospital. 27-year-old Dwayne Bearspaw was arrested yesterday and charged with manslaughter. The 6th annual Make Some Noise for Mental Health Awareness campaign kicked off today on St. Campus. Erica Rowling is standing by in the St. Newsroom. Erica, the mobile pep rally took place this morning. How was the tryout?
Well, Connor, the mobile pep rally was great here. A lot of mental health awareness here at SAIT, and student athletes, staff, and alumni all had their outside voices on for this mobile pep rally. This chant could be heard throughout the entire campus today, and if you didn't hear it, you're missing out. The 6th annual Make Some Noise for Mental Health mobile pep rally traveled through many of SAIT's busy buildings to spread awareness onto people who may need it most, students. Becca Gold is a SAIT alumni that helped create the campaign. She says her own experience as a student athlete here at SAIT showed her taking care of mental and physical health go hand in hand.
Our mental health is just as important as our physical health, and if we don't take care of it, as a student or as a working professional, it can be detrimental to how we live our lives in the short term and in the long term.
Traumatic events in a person's life can greatly affect their mental health. St. Trojans Marketing and Outreach Billy Ray Busby helped co-create the event back 6 years ago and opened up about her own struggles with mental health.
I lost my mom and my best friend over 11 years ago in a very short time period, and I know that it was changed me completely, and I found that I didn't probably deal with the grief as best as I could, and I want people to know that it's okay and you don't have to be at the far severe end of mental health or mental illness to still know that you need support and you need help, and you can really ask for people to have your back.
One of the main goals for the Make Some Noise mental health campaign is to encourage empathy and understand others going through struggles. Assistant captain of the Trojans men's hockey team, Kevin Massey, knows this all too well.
I know a few people that struggle with mental health, so it's important for me to get out and try and do my part in the community and just make sure everybody knows that they're not alone.
The mental health awareness campaign has just started here on campus. On Monday, there will be a glow-in-the-dark DJ spin class. If you are interested in that and you want to go, make sure to sign up on SAIT's events website as spots do fill up fast. Back to you, Connor.
Erica Rowling reporting live from the SAIT Newsroom. The Bow Habitat Station is inviting fishermen to share their input on what needs to be done to improve sustainability. The station is focusing on more than just providing fish for anglers, but the support the roles and the fisheries have within the economy. The Alberta Environment and Parks have had numerous discussions and meetings about fisheries in Alberta. They have discussed all the positives and negatives and are now asking the ones who are impacted the most to give their opinions. Together, the Bow Habitat Station hopes to identify options and work towards a long-term plan for Alberta fisheries.
Some ideas we're looking at is increasing, stocking opportunities, looking at ways to maybe increase harvest in some areas. So all those things are on the table, and we just want to hear from Albertans on how to do that best.
The Habitat Station says if you can't make it out to the engagement session, you can submit your thoughts online. Some people aren't as high-tech as others and can really start to cause problems. Take your instance, Windows 7. Microsoft is no longer supporting the security on the system, so if you're not willing to upgrade your system, what can you do? As Vincent Laval reports, it's more difficult to keep operating the same old thing than it seems.
When it comes to upgrading software in a business, there might be more to it than just installing the newest version.
It does take years to even go to a staff member and say you're getting a new computer with Windows 10 and you have to learn all those applications. There's training involved. You're disrupting their work. There's a ton of moving parts to making sure that we can migrate on time.
SAIT switched over to 10 a few years ago, but many businesses continue to run old versions of the software, some dating back more than 30 or even 40 years.
I've been and opened up some old ATMs and things like that, and they were still running Windows 3 or Windows 3.1 at the time. So that was probably about 10 years ago, but I mean, still the fact they were running an operating system from the 80s.
The biggest issue is security. Microsoft is no longer providing security updates for older versions, so that could leave your business vulnerable to hackers.
We might not be able to clutch onto Windows 7 for very much longer in terms of security because it's going to start falling apart soon.
Not everyone was happy with the Windows 10 update and felt some of the features ended up violating a user's privacy rather than protecting it. One engineering student says Microsoft might want to look to the past when updating future systems.
I think it's important to remember what it's done so that moving forward we can persuade companies like Microsoft to sort of use it as a model for going forward.
Even though Windows 7 support ended a week ago, businesses will still use the operating system for some time. Currently, Windows 7 is being used by 26% of computers worldwide. But the key is to better be safe than sorry.
Those are today's top stories. We'll have your full forecast after the break. But first, Eloise Terrien has a look on what's going around Calgary this week.
Lunar New Year celebrations are happening all around the city, but there's one here at SAIT. Head to Stan Grad tomorrow for a traditional lion dance performance to welcome the new zodiac sign of 2020. Next Wednesday at SAIT, visit the Artisan Market from 12 to 5, shop for vintage clothing, jewelry, natural body products, and much more. The famous Harlem Globetrotters are hitting the court tomorrow night at the Saddle Dome. Hurry now as tickets are limited, and this is likely the closest we'll ever get to an NBA game. If you need something to do with the kids this weekend, head outdoors for a free family skate and meet Elsa and Anna from Disney's Frozen. For all the playgoers out there, Boy from Oz is the first Australian musical to make it to Broadway, and they've made a stop in Calgary. See it from Tuesday to Saturday for the rest of the month. It's never too early to plan for Valentine's Day. For all you lovers out there, head out for a night filled with comedy presented by the 20th Annual Funny Fest.
When you donate to the Salvation Army, you're not just donating a coat, you're donating another warm night for someone that needs it. When you donate to the Salvation Army, you're giving someone hope. So why wait? Give hope today.
Paced world of television production. Find your passion to write, shoot, edit, and direct news, sports, and dramatic productions. With industry standard technology and the best instructors in the business, SAIT's television production program teaches you everything you need to know for a career in broadcasting. This is television production. Come and dare to be on air.
Welcome back to St. NewsFile. Now it's time to jump right into the weather, so let's start off on the west coast. In Vancouver, they had a rainfall warning set out about 10:30 this morning, and that has left a little bit, but still keep an eye out for any warnings that may come or continue if you're in that area. Now Edmonton is just above freezing right now, nothing too odd over there. Regina, sunny right now, but later on they will be having a gloomy weekend with some freezing fog, so keep an eye out when you're on the road. And in Winnipeg, it's -6 right now. The humidity is about 80% and it's cold, so not a great combination. Moving down to the eastern part of the country, Toronto and Montreal are facing a low pressure system, so that's what's causing the clouds right now. Up in St. John, it's also cloudy and -2. Now, Nova Scotia, we all know they got hit really hard with that winter storm, but it is sunny right now, so that's a good break for them. Now, speaking of sun, if you want to get away from Canada, let's take a look at our resorts. If you're looking to tan your desperate winter skin, Palm Springs, Honolulu, or Vegas are your best options. Barbados is looking nice now, but by next Wednesday, they'll be seeing some rain. Parts of Florida are cooling down and causing invasive iguanas to freeze, but a mild 21 is perfectly normal for humans. In Calgary today, it's about 6 degrees, partly cloudy, and the wind is coming in from the southwest at 20 kilometers per hour. Next, we can expect some more clouds before it clears up again. As for the rest of the province, the first thing you'll notice on this map is that the northern part of the province is colder than the southern part, so a cold front is moving out. Grand Prairie and Fort McMurray will be getting some precipitation in the next few days, but all around, pretty typical temperatures, a little bit above average. The hot spot in the province right now is Lethbridge, and the sunniest is Medicine Hat. Now let's have a look at what Calgary can expect for the next few days here. So tonight will be cloudy with some clear breaks. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy as well, getting up to 7, so pretty nice. And then Saturday on will be sunny, so a beautiful weekend ahead of us, but it is still winter, so if you're a skier, you can check out the ski report. Visit the Fernie Alpine Resort for a weekend ski trip and find a great base of 277 centimeters. 127 runs are open today, and the run of the day is Curry Powder. Visit the Real Film Festival while you're in town. All runs and lifts are open at Panorama, featuring a base of 81 centimeters, but only 1 centimeter of new snow overnight. Hit up the resort afterwards for some food and yummy hot chocolate. A bit closer to home is Sunshine Village, where you'll find it's actually cloudy, but packed powder conditions make for a nice day trip. 132 out of 138 runs are open. Norquay is also not far from the city. It has the warmest temperature of the day at a high of 3. Sun and cloud throughout the day make for a nice day on the hill or in town at the Banff Winter Festival. Sadly, no new snow over the last 24 hours in Lake Louise, high of -1 and variable conditions on most runs.
And welcome back. So, Chim, Manchester United, they haven't been having a good season, but what happened last night specifically?
Connor, Nasser's not going to like this, but we'll have more details in the lineup. The St. Trojans women's volleyball team will return to the court on Friday at Old College to take on Old College Broncos. The game is coming after back-to-back wins against the Medicine Hat College Rattlers, 3-0 and 3-2 respectively. Currently, the Trojans women's team sits in second spot on the log with 24 points behind Briarcrest College with 32 points. St. has, however, played 14 games, 2 games less than Briarcrest. Head coach of the Trojans volleyball team, Ath Odawe, says heading into the game that the win over Medicine Hat has helped the confidence of the team.
It was good to go against Medicine Hat and show that we can play at that level, and so we just have to build on that. Our confidence that we're a strong enough team to play with any team in the league.
The St. Trojans ladies have won 12 of their games, losing just 2 games. 6 p.m. Friday is game time. Staying on with the Trojans, the men's basketball team is putting finishing touches in preparation for their game on Friday, also against Old College Broncos. Currently, the Trojans have a 9-3 record this season heading into this game. Also, the Trojans have 5 games win streak, sitting second on the log behind Lethbridge. There is hunger in the team to avenge last year's loss to the Broncos. Game time is 8 p.m. Friday at the Campus Center. The Toronto Raptors continued their good run with a win last night over Philadelphia 76ers 107-95. In a game that could be described as one-sided, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam dominated play to give the Raptors the edge over the 76ers. VanVleet, who had previously been sidelined with a hamstring injury for 5 games, looked his best despite being on a minute restriction. Coach Nick Nurse of the Raptors was satisfied with the player's performance and said it looked like he was just riding a bike effortlessly. The Raptors guard was not expected to play for too long as a precaution, but throughout the game he seemed not to be thinking much about this. The game also saw Marc Gasol hit a perfect 7 for 7 with three three-pointers on the night. VanVleet scored 22 points with 5 rebounds to lead the way for the Raptors. Raptors forward Siakam also had 18 points and 15 rebounds to his name. On the opposing side, Tobias Harris led the way for the 76ers with 22 points and 6 rebounds. 8 of top calling teams in Alberta are in Okotoks for the Scotties tournament, and day 1 did not disappoint as there was some great calling. Zach Stewart joins us. Zach, the games are on the way. What's the latest score?
Well, Jim, day 2 of the Scotties tournament is over. Well, the afternoon games are over at least. And with that, Team Skurlick out of Calgary came away with a narrow 8-6 victory, pushing their record to 2-1. Team Skurlick was quick to recognize that the crowd was in their corner.
Good luck and good curling. Enjoy the game.
After the first day of the Scotties tournament, Calgary's Team Skurlick is sitting with a 1-1 record. In the afternoon game yesterday, Skurlick's team was able to beat crowd favorite Team Vaughan 9-3. In the second draw for the team, they fell just short of an incredible comeback. After trailing 9-2 after the 6th end, the team was able to make the final score close, 10-6.
I think we struggled with the rocks a little bit and with the ice. Not that the ice isn't great or anything, it definitely was. We just didn't catch on to it as quickly, and then we definitely had a bit stronger second half of the game, but our first half we couldn't quite recover from.
Team Skurlick really uses the crowd to their advantage as they love the support and cheering in Okotoks.
We're so excited to be here in Okotoks. Gosh, everyone is so friendly. The crowd was roaring. It was awesome to see the support. It's a great venue. We're having so much fun, and we're looking forward to continuing on.
Their third game is underway right now, and the fourth is later this evening against Team Scheidegger.
You know, we got the loss out of the way, and we're really excited to continue on the rest of the week now. We've got the jitters out of this event.
With all the afternoon games done, the handful of volunteers are trying to clean up the ice for the 6:30 games. Let's see if Team Skurlack can sweep away the competition. Back to you, Jim.
Zach Stewart reporting from the Okotoks Recreation Center. The tournament continues on Sunday. The St. Trojans men's hockey team has been on a roll of late. After a sluggish start to the season, they may have finally started to turn the corner, as James Dunn reports. It's just in time for the playoffs a month away.
There's just 10 games left in the regular season for the St. Trojans men's hockey team. The team is on a 3-game winning streak and hoping that trend continues. In each of those last 3 games, the team scored 6 or more goals. Jordan Pattenout is currently on a 3-game point streak, scoring 4 goals in those 3 games.
Oh, just great plays by my line mates, and one of those goals, it was just off a face-off play, and Massey made a great pass through a seam to me, so it's great passes by teammates.
The team is in 4th place in the ACAC standings after an up-and-down season. The Trojans were on a 3-game losing skid coming into the middle of January. Even after the recent string of success, head coach Tyler Drader thinks some issues need to be ironed out come playoff time.
Yeah, I think for us it's attention to detail, making sure that we're managing pucks, not turning pucks over, always having a high guy, not giving up odd man rushes, that kind of stuff.
The Trojans are relying a lot on their veteran leadership. Forwards Colton McCarthy and Eric Kreinke sit 3rd and 4th in the entire ACAC for points respectively.
We got to be really pushing, and we got to create some separation from a team, especially Concordia and Augustana. So this weekend coming up is big.
The next men's hockey game is against Concordia. They currently sit 6th in the ACAC standings and are currently fighting for their playoff lives. For St. NewsFile, I'm James Dunn.
In English soccer, Manchester United continued in their bad run after they were beaten 2-0 by mid-table Burnley FC at home. Following Tuesday's draw between Chelsea and Arsenal, expectations were high that the Red Devils would close the gap on current fourth-place Chelsea with a win of their own in their quest for the fourth place. This was, however, not to be, as very spirited Burnley shocked hopeful United fans in the stadium with goals either side of the game to run away with a vital 3 points at Old Trafford. The result sees United stay on 5th and 6 points behind current 4th place Chelsea. And that's a look at sports. Connor?
Those are today's top stories. Coming up next, we have an inside look at the Calgary Military Museum, a story on Canada's military history after the break.
I had it so good. I had my own car, great grades, everything in my life was going great till I ruined it all. Little did I know, this would be my greatest mistake. Drunk driving. Lawyer fees, disappointed parents, lost car, if only I listened.
Hey, you aren't good to drive home.
Friends don't let friends drink and drive.
Come and learn the breaking world of broadcast news. Find your passion to investigate, write, shoot, edit, and deliver the stories of the day. SAIT's broadcast news program teaches you everything you need to know for a career in radio and television. Become the next great anchor, reporter, or personality using industry standard technology alongside qualified instructors with years of experience. This is Broadcast News. Come and dare to be on air.
SAIT's aeronautical program has been receiving, studying, and donating military planes for over 60 years. David Dimitri follows the story of Canada's military history that led him to the Calgary Military Museum.
SAIT recently sent an engine from a Banshee F2H3. Brad Froggett, the curator at the museum, goes into more detail.
Well, the engine we received was one that was probably used at SAIT at the time this aircraft was used as a teaching aid at SAIT. Now, it's the same engine that was used in these aircraft. SAIT approached us about 6 months ago and said, we've got this engine that's left over from our previous stuff. Do you want it? And we thought that would be a good addition to our exhibit because it gives people an idea of what the engine looked like, and when it's eventually interpreted properly, you'll be able to identify most of the parts and how it worked.
Eric Caroller, the museum's director, not only works to tell the story of Canadian soldiers, he has his own personal connection to the museum and one particular artifact.
I was in the Navy for a number of years, and one of my roles in the Navy as an action station when the ship went to fighting stations was to be in that gun and to load that gun as it fired. So that was a pretty exciting thing, being in a gun with the noise of that round popping off. So there's a lot of people, Alberta and Saskatchewan, that participated in the war. So what we've done with this museum is we tried to recognize a lot of the points from Alberta, a lot of the cities, a lot of the people, and some of the features that we have here in our exhibits, they'll feature prairie people.
From receiving a bit of history every day to retelling the stories of people who fought for our country, the Military Museum will always educate and hold a great honor for Calgary. For SAIT NewsFile, I'm David Dimitri.
So, Eloise, do you look both ways before you cross the street?
I definitely try to every time.
Well, and Jim?
Well, I love food, and so I do.
Well, that makes 3 of us. I love food as well. But speaking of, Calgary's own Transportation Minister Rick McIver joined some lucky Calgary students for a little safety crosswalk session. Since 2008, there have been more than slightly 300 pedestrians killed each year in road crashes. Minister McIver strives to teach the importance of looking both ways before you cross the street. The kids will learn the danger of walking out onto the roads, as 75% of pedestrians' fatalities occur on urban streets.
Anything more important than them getting a good education is them getting home safely at the end of the day. So today's about reviewing with the students the best procedures on getting across the streets to get to school safely and the best procedures to get across the streets to get home safely.
All right, well, thanks for joining Connor, Eloise, and Chim and I for SAIT NewsFile. We'll catch you next week.